Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Board Game Barbecue podcast. This is Jules here. It's episode 353, brought to you by Advent Games, More Than Meeples, and our illustrious Patreons. And I've got 2/3 of the Queensland crew. The newbie one as she takes a drink. It's Lauren. How you doing?
Jules, how's it going?
I'm doing really well. How about yourself?
I'm very good. I am quite excited. It was a bit of a last-minute addition to this pod, but I'm excited. I've got some things to chat about. Keen.
And the old-timer Adrian. How you doing?
I got nothing to say about that. Anyway, I was going to call you something rotten. Well, I'll start off by doing a quick wrap-up of my Christmas holiday, if that's all right, because I had Lauren and James come and stay with me for an extended period of time, which was really nice. Like, it was great. Like, we got to play Jackbox with Finn and a bunch of other random stuff, have many cocktails, and it was awesome. In fact, some of the answers to the Jackbox night, I'm sure that is James that has put that answer because it's a bit risque. And then it comes up and it was Finn's answer. And I was like, wow, I'm pretty proud of that. Well done. That was really clever. Like, you made me think it was you without having to use a swear word. Like, you didn't have to stoop to that level, you know?
That game was rigged, though, because what's the Jackbox game where you have to slide them kind of in ascending order?
Quitix or something like that. I can't remember. Like, yeah.
It was Girls Be Boys, and theirs was shapes of how many sides a shape had. Fair play, easiest thing ever. And then MJ and I had, which of these are real Lifetime movies?
Oh.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
And some of them were outrageous.
They were crazy, but they inspired you guys to then go on and actually watch a couple of these Lifetime movies. While James, Finn, and I went on a fishing trip, you guys stayed at home, drank wine, and watched Lifetime movies, and they were so controversial, man. Like, I did not think they were going to be like this. I've never watched one in my life, but they were definitely lots of interesting themes. Let's just put it that way.
Death of a Cheerleader is the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah.
Okay.
MJ and I watched that. You know, movies that are so bad, they're just breathtaking.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you didn't stop there. You continued watching these films like back to back. You actually looked for them on Amazon and stuff like that, which I thought was really funny. You know, so many cool things over this Christmas. I'll say one last thing. We built Finn's PC, me and Finn, together. And I was, I had some issues with mine when I built mine like 5 years ago, and it took me a couple of days to sort of fix these final bits to make sure it all worked properly. But his was smooth sailing. We built it. He absolutely loves it. Him and James have been like theory crafting Dark Souls builds and stuff because Finn's been playing Dark Souls. He's also played Elden Ring quite a bit. And the funniest thing about the Elden Ring thing, had the boys around here playing the other night. I think it was G-Money and Ruben, myself and Haig. And Finn's like, oh, I want to show you my rig and I want to show you this and blah, blah, blah. So we went in there and he went to fight this boss on Elden Ring. And then we were all sort of sitting around talking because we know how hard it is to fight these bosses on Elden Ring. Well, Finn's build is basically no armor, him in his jocks with a hammer with a concrete block on the top that's bigger than his character. He went up to that boss. We were all talking, not really paying attention. He one-shot that boss. We missed the whole thing. But it was completely hilarious. It's been an awesome holiday. So yeah, and obviously Boxing Day. Anyone that came around on Boxing Day, thanks so much for coming. It's a wild day and I got to play loads of games this year, which was great, which isn't always the case. But this year, I think as the kids get older and I have to not have to sort of facilitate, zip lines and swings and paddling pooly things, and kids are a bit older to just look after themselves, it's pretty much gives me a bit more free time. So yeah, it was great. How was your holiday, Jules?
Mine was very chill. It was just staying at home and playing some games, watching movies, just really relaxing as much as I could. Did some miniature painting, which was really nice. Been doing a lot of that over the past week, especially leading up to CanCon. But all around pretty chill. It was good. Over the New Year period, had some of the Sydney gang around. Rojas, Megs, and Stu come around, played a few games. One of which was an old favourite of mine I hadn't pulled out for ages, which is Veiled Fate. And I don't think any of them had played it before, but it went down like a treat. Everyone really loved it. If you don't know about Veiled Fate, it's a deduction game where everyone plays with a god or demigod, and no one knows who's who, and you're putting them on quests to try and earn points or make characters lose points. And it plays over 3 rounds. You do secret voting at these quests. Whenever you move a god there, you play a card face down and you see what the result is, and the cards split down the middle between feathers and scorpions, and the highest result, you resolve that side of the quest. It's really simple, but man, it was good. And because we got to play at 5-player, I think that's the best player count, where everyone has their own character before, if you kick into 6-player, you start to do teams, which is still really fun. But 5-player is the highest you go, as playing on your own demigod, which was great fun. But Veiled Fate was so good. I got to play with some of the Kickstarter pieces that had arrived earlier last year. Got the deluxe 3D city tile that sits in the middle of the board. Completely unnecessary, but looks awesome. But I haven't tried any of the expansions yet. But they all loved it, so maybe it's one I'll pull out again sometime and start to play with the modular expansions that mix things up quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, I've only ever played the base game. I thought it was great. I think that the amount of player interaction and stuff in it, you don't necessarily have to add those modules in for quite a few sessions, but you've played it quite a bit. So
I have.
I'd say you're pretty comfortable to teach it with those modules in. Sometimes it's not that hard to add a few things here and there, but sometimes it can be like a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's another game that I've only ever played, I think with you actually, Jules. And
yeah, it was at Southwest.
Yeah, and I would love to play it again. It just never happens. Do you know what I mean? No, I don't even know anyone that's really got it, but I would definitely like to play it again with a 9-player count and enjoy that crazy experience of not knowing who's who. So
yeah, I've only played it once, and that was the team experience. Adrian, you and I were on the same team in that game.
Yeah.
And I loved the tension of, are they with me? Are they against me? Yeah, really, really enjoyed that game.
Yeah. Another one that got a lot of table time over Christmas, I got Kieran a copy of Nana, the Christmas edition one, because that was what was available. But I don't know if this is just in the Christmas edition one or if it's a variant that exists in the normal version as well. But it has like a gift swapping rule where you swap cards with people. Maybe that's in the Christmas edition one only, because I'm seeing some wide eyes. But yeah, we played it once. I thought it was fine. I think it can be a bit random and wild, passing cards around. Basically what it does is certain sets have like a little present symbol. So if someone plays those sets, you all pass your hands around clockwise. So it's not every set that triggers that, but only some of them. Because had people come around that have started to dabble in board games we've been playing a lot. And yeah, it was just great fun. A huge hit, game after game after game of that one.
Yeah, I've only ever played it the once with Megs and her husband, and I really liked it. I just never, had the opportunity to play it again. I wonder if it is a variant thing that might be at the back of the original rulebook that no one's ever sort of delved into, because that happens a lot. There's a lot of games that have a variant and you never play it. There's one that I do, the Caesar Strife one. I'm like, you always have to use it. Whereas a lot of the other ones, you just never look at and go, a variant, not that bothered.
Funny you mentioned the Caesar Strife variant. I played that as well. I don't think I like the variant. It feels more wild and random and less predictable, and it feels like you don't have the room to make clever plays.
The variant is the original.
Okay,
yes,
but I don't like it.
So no, the variant is how the designer intended for the game to be released, but not how it was actually released. In Seas of Strife, when they reprinted it, they added his original rule as a variant. Now, having played it a lot, I agree with you, Jules.
Yeah.
I think the variant makes it more chaotic, but I think you still get enough really kind of suck it moments from the original. And in those moments, you actually get a bit more agency over how much you want to suck it to a person.
Yeah. I don't know. It just, look, having played the, let's quote unquote, the regular rules, the non-variant for the republished version, having played that a lot, it felt weird going to the variant where what's considered the worst cards to get, being the highest number in a set in the normal, suddenly become like the best cards to get because you can just nullify those sets. It's, I don't know. Played it with the variant. And I was like, no. It felt like I couldn't. It, yeah, there was just less predictable moments, and because I've played the regular rules so much, I'm just able to predict a little bit better what's going on and play and predict around the cards. So, yeah, to go to a version where it's like, oh, well, I think I'll put in this number, and it's like nullified set. And like, well, that was just completely out of the blue. I can't have any control over it. Just didn't feel as fun to me, but still a fun game. But yeah, I think I prefer the original rules.
I actually got to play a game that I'd never heard of before until earlier the same day. So when it was Boxing Day, Kerry brought round a massive, like huge deck of cards, and it was basically kind of like a Monaco-esque type game, but everything was a board game. And essentially on each card, there was a sort of description of a board game that you could read out. However, what we were doing was we were playing it with just describing the box art, and then people were guessing the board game. So it was like code names. It's like two dark silhouettes on the front, orange background, and then people like code names, and then they would get it. But one of those games on that list was A Fake Artist Goes to New York. Now, I'd never heard of that game.
Really?
Yeah, really. And then it came up. I was like, never heard of it. And then Shane said, oh, I've got it. And I was like, we should play it later. And we did. And it's so good. Oh my God, I had the best time. And it was quite funny because essentially what happens is that everybody gets given subject matter for what you're drawing. Okay. So it might be like TV show, right? And then every player around the table gets given the TV show. Let's say it's the X-Files, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then one player just gets an X, so they don't know what they're drawing. And then essentially you're trying to bluff your way through the game and not get caught by drawing stuff. And as Shane was explaining this, he said, oh, what's really bad is when you're the first player next to the artist and you have no idea what the subject is. You've just got TV show and there's a billion TV shows and you have to be the first player to draw something. And that's exactly what happened to me on my first turn. And I just drew like a sort of like almost like an oval or an egg shape. And then other players looked and went, right. And then they drew around it and stuff and it made sense. And I got away with it. And it was like someone thought it was some eye from The Witcher or something. They were like, oh, we thought it was the eye or something. And I was like, I had no idea about The Witcher TV show. However, yeah, it was great. Great fun. Absolutely loved it. And I also found it quite interesting is the fact that you're trying to fake it out so that the person that doesn't know the name of the TV show doesn't become very apparent to them because they also get to add to the image again later. So if it's the X-Files and you draw an alien, then a chest of, like a filing cabinet, I'm going to clock instantly that that's X-Files, but they don't want that to happen. So it's just good. It was good fun. Really enjoyed it.
Did you play it with the tiny pad of paper that comes in the box?
Yeah.
Or did you just use regular paper?
No, I used the tiny pad. I thought that added to it. I liked it because it was constraining and hard. And yeah, I thought it was good.
So we've played it with my family on these like huge whiteboards, and it's really funny and fun.
Nice.
Game goes off rails even more, but it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is a classic game. And it is one that you don't need to own the game to play the game. You just whip out some pieces of paper or, yeah, it's so good. Such a fun
The only thing that you do need is colored pens. Every player has to have their own color so that when you look back at it, you can decipher who's been drawing what.
Yes.
Other than that, yeah, you don't need anything.
Yeah. Fake Artist Goes to New York is great.
Yeah. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I got to play one of Lauren's top 10 games. In fact, I got to play a couple of Lauren's top 10 games while she was here, which was great. And one of them was Hansa Teutonica. I bloody loved that game. Oh
Good game.
My God. Wow. It was so fun. Did we play it 3 or 4 times? We played
it 3 times.
Yeah, it was so good. Like, and it's so easy to set up. And once you know the rules, and we played a couple of different maps, which added a bit of a wrinkle, but nothing too hard to get a head around. But it was just great. Absolutely loved it. I could definitely see the appeal of playing it with 3+ players rather than 2 players, but I've never played it at 2, so I can't really give an honest answer. The first game we played, James ran away with it, and then in the second game, I wasn't going to let him do the same thing he did last time, and I could produce more cubes than him. So I was able to hold him off for like 3 turns, but Lauren did so much work while we fluffed about for these points. It was great. It was really interesting. It was really fun.
I really liked that we played with a few of the different boards, one of which I'd not played with before, which was the Britain board. And it has these really interesting rules for different areas of the board and needing to control certain cities to be able to place in those areas.
Yeah, so, yeah. I thought that was the best map as well.
It was great.
It was the hardest to sort of get your head around and be competitive in. Do you know what I mean? Because there's lots of little sub rules on where things can be placed and where things can't be placed. But yeah, I thought it was awesome. Really, really great game. And for anyone who's never had the opportunity to try it, it does look like cubes, but it's really good. It's a really great game. So give it a shot.
One of the other games, Rojas brought it around, and I'd seen it before, but I'd honestly forgotten about its existence until he brought it around, called Tumbling Dice. Super, super simple game, but this got played so many times. It was just so good. It's basically a wooden board that's like a staircase going down that you construct, and you have a set of dice, and you get to roll them one at a time, and each of the zones going down the steps has a multiplier on it, until you get to the point where there's sort of 3 prongs. It's like a set of steps and then like a trident at the end, almost 3 separated platforms where they have ×4, and then the level above that's ×3, ×2, ×1, and then 0. And then at the very top, there's just a little platform. And the only rule of the game is when you throw the dice, it has to touch that top platform. Beyond that, it doesn't really matter how you throw the die or what you do. And basically, you go around, each throw a die one at a time until you've thrown them all. And wherever the die lands on this staircase, the die face multiplied by its position multiplier, you add that to your score, and you're supposed to play a number of rounds depending on the player count, and the high score wins. That is all there is to it. But when you start to add in a ton of people, the dice are clogging up the board. You're trying to knock certain people's dice off so that it stops them getting a 4 times multiplier. There's so many cheering moments of a die almost landing on the ×4 section on a 6, and it's just raucous fun. It's so dumb. You're literally just throwing dice down a staircase, but it's one of those games that is way more fun than it has any right to be, and I would just bring this out right now and play it if I could. It is just silly, silly fun. But yeah, Tumbling Dice, so much good fun. Not cheap because it's a big wooden board and quite a large box, but great, great game. And this is one anyone can play. Literally any person, children, doesn't matter who. Just it's throw a die. That's it.
Yeah, nice. I have seen it. I'd like to give it a go. I would love to see like a giant version of it with like rubber dice or something at some spot.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Cool. But yeah, I've seen it before, but you are right, man. Like the price does make me go, oh, it's quite expensive for something that I probably, for me, won't play that frequently. But it's always, game days and things like that. It's like fantastic spot to play those things. Or if you're having, family over for dinner and things, it's great. MJ's mum would probably really enjoy it as well. And MJ's brother would love it. That's the sort of bonkers thing that he would love. Another game I got to play which was also in Lauren's top 10, was Botswana. I got to play that with Finn, MJ, Jane, like 5 players. I really liked it. Super great, interesting. Like, it's for such a basic game. Like, it has so many fun decisions and it's really cutthroat and you really never quite know what's going to happen. So there's 5 animals and essentially every player gets given cards each, but they're all randomized. So you might end up with a couple of giraffes, a couple of meerkats and whatever, but every suit of cards essentially has a number on it. And those numbers delineate a multiplier of how many points you'll get for how many of those animal meeples you have taken. So when you place a card, you pick up an animal meeple. Now I could place a meerkat but take a giraffe, because essentially I may have placed a 0 meerkat, so that meerkats are worth 0 at the end, whereas giraffes might be still worth 3 points by the end, and I take the giraffe. And then James puts on a 5 giraffes, and boom, my giraffes are worth 5 now, so I'm happy, but I've only got 1 to his 3. It's great. Super simple. That's basically the whole game. Absolutely loved it. Finn loved it as well. MJ also really loved it because it's something that she can just chill and play, and it's not too overbearing.
Jules thinks it's fine. He gave a side nod.
He thinks it's all right.
It's fine.
It's okay. How does it feel to be so wrong, Jules?
It feels so right. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. Lauren, you've got a few more games listed here.
Yeah. I got to play 2 little button shy games that arrived on my doorstep. The ever-expanding solo catalog of button shy games. They keep putting them out and I just keep picking them up. And to varying success. So the first one that I'll chat about, which I was kind of middling on, is called Lands of Amazement. This game's interesting because if you could imagine kind of a Sprawlopolis type puzzle, but where the sections of the card aren't the whole card and they're varying sizes. So the ways they can be overlapped, there's a certain number of icons that'll make little grids on the portion of the card, and you can overlap multiple cards and rotate them in all sorts of ways. That's the second half of the game. The first half of the game is kind of acquiring a deck to do this big puzzle at the end. But you have to remember the cards that you put in that deck because you can't look at them. So there's a weird memory component to it. But you essentially are kind of playing hands, creating little puzzles to add cards, which might let you activate powers, which I basically never did. That's just kind of there. It doesn't really add anything. And then you acquire this little deck to do this mega puzzle at the end, which is really cool in theory. But in practice, there's no way to definitively know if the deck you have makes it possible to construct that final puzzle with a perfect score. So you could do what I did, which is sit there for like half an hour seeing if you could optimize it better, because you're going to have these overlapping symbols. You'll need a certain number to appear a certain number of times. You'll lose points if they're not the right symbols. You'll lose points if it's not the right shape. So it's just this weird kind of optimization puzzle trying to see if I can get all of these pieces to fit. I got pretty close, and then I might dismantle it and I think, shoot, maybe that what I had before was the best I could do. Couldn't tell you how to arrange that again because I fluffed it. So I just found the cadence of the game really odd, if that makes sense. Like the first half almost kind of mattered, but it sort of didn't matter. And then the second half of the end could just be as long as you wanted. I actually almost wish they could have made this second half of the puzzle but like a little more definitive to know if I could, I don't know. It was really interesting in the way, in the sense that it's quite different from other button shies, and they continue to expand, what can be done with us, 18 cards or whatever it is. But Lands of Amazement, bit of a miss for me. What was a hit though was Hyperstar Run. Hyperstar Run is really cool. In Hyperstar Run, basically what you're doing is you are lining up these cards in this kind of platformer level, and you'll reveal them. So you have a hand of cards, and then the rest form a level at the top, and some are randomly set aside. And you flip over the first one, and you just see if you can spend your cards using icons and abilities to see if you can pass the first level. If you do, great, move on to the second. And the first level becomes a card you can spend once. And then you kind of go across like that, and there are ways that you can chain things. There are things that will let you, rearrange the order of the cards, activate different powers to rearrange them in a way to, have the symbols that is going to work sequentially, if that makes sense. So I have a hand of cards, and I need a green symbol to get the first one. Cool. But what I'm actually going to do is flip a card in my hands to activate the ability, which lets me flip a card further down and swap it. Great. I see that that's also a green. Cool, I'll swap it with this one. Now I've got 2 greens in a row. I have a card in my hand that is 2 greens, which means I only need to spend 1 card to pass these first 2 levels. So it's all about kind of rearranging this sequence of platformer cards at the top, and you get 3 passes to try complete it. So each time you get a bit more information, and as you pass levels, there are more cards that you can spend. So it's as you learn about what levels you have to pass, rearranging them and optimizing them so you have the resources to pass them in the correct order. Really clever. It actually reminded me most of Numpsters, which is an excellent button shy that all takes place in your hands, in the palm of your hands. Really, really liked this one. Very cool optimization puzzle. Really different, really interesting. There's a few other little wrinkles, if the cards, there's these like lines and little enemies, and if the lines line up and they're the same color, then you can chain it and skip a level. There's all these kind of cool little things. But for a quick little romp, quick little puzzle, you could just smash out heaps of games of it. I really, really enjoyed Hyperstar Run.
That sounds really cool, actually. I don't own any button shy games, actually, but I did play Sprawlopolis in the past couple of weeks. Man, I forgot how hard that game is. It's brutal. It never ceases to impress. I have played a few button shy games, so I don't own any, as I said, but it never ceases to amaze me what you can do with 18 cards. It is crazy. But that sounds really cool. I would actually like to try that.
Yeah, so we're hit and a miss for Scott Arms, but yeah, Hyperstar Run, I do recommend. And every time there's a new Simply Solo Button Shy Kickstarter, you can often get all the previous ones add to cart later on. So it's a good opportunity to get it. And yeah, one other game I'll quickly mention is I got to play the expansion to Windmill Valley called Blooming Sails.
I did enjoy Windmill Valley. It's got such a cool cog mechanic and they're different sizes. So all right, tell me about the expansion.
The expansion is lovely. It slots in to the game perfectly. It improves upon the parts of the game that I felt were weakest. So that trade action with the ships, it really kind of revamps that action. It adds a whole separate kind of trade board. And so a new thing that you can do now is move a ship down and deliver tulips from your board and place crates and get more bonuses.
Cool.
So it made that action way better. That action was quite weak, I felt, except for, 1 or 2 points. But the part that it adds, it just slots in really, really nicely. It also adds some things onto the board so that if you're the first person to build a windmill there, you can, instead of taking the thing printed on the board, get a different one-time bonus, which you take and put on your patch so that when you cover it with a tulip, you get that bonus as well. So it just increases more cascading bonuses. It improves all of the parts of the game that I thought weren't the most, strong for engine building. It does make the engine building, or at least in my game, did make the engine building a little unwieldy at times, just in terms of the timing of things. I was getting so many bonuses from so many things that, I'm not too fussed, right? If I fudge it and I kind of accidentally miss one bonus, not a huge deal. But it's not as if you can finish resolving one action before you start another, because you have to keep in mind 2 or 3 extra things that you might get.
Okay.
Outside of that, lovely expansion, so seamless to fit in, doesn't change the rules hugely. I feel just straight improves the game. And yeah, adds more of, more of the cards, more of the improvement tiles, just more good stuff all around.
Very cool.
So that is Windmill Valley Blooming Sails.
All right, I think it's probably about time we go on to some sizzling games, and we've got some some big ones to talk about. I might kick us off first because this one has been talked about on the podcast, and it has not. Oh, yes, it has.
I was just gesturing finger guns because I think it's a great game.
I think your hand was
sorry
half
to bury the lead. I will now check if it's been discussed on the podcast. Please resume, Jules.
I just saw little fingers waving because the screen was half cut off. I was like, no, it has not been talked about. That's okay. Anyway, the game itself is fishing. I think what I'm thinking of is you mentioned in our top 10s, maybe? I don't know. Lauren's definitely talked about it for sure in some capacity. So, fishing was one, again, I played over this holiday period. I had it on back order at work for a very long time. It finally came in, hooray. And it is a fantastic trick-taking game. Really, really good. So, it's pretty basic in that it's a must-follow trick-taker. Play a card, and highest number wins in that color. Super simple to start the game. You get 1 point per card that you collect. So it's not 1 point per trick, but 1 point per card, which is actually quite important. Basically, when you play out the whole hand, you count the number of cards you've earned, and you score that many points. And the game plays over 8 rounds, I believe it is. And each round, it will start to step up the number of cards that you need to have in your hand, because the cards that you won in that previous round become your hand for the next round. And if you are short on the number of cards that you need because you didn't win so many, then you start to draw from another deck, which has more powerful cards in it and starts to introduce trump cards, which are the green color. And it starts to introduce cards that are a bit more wild, like you can play a 0, and before the winner takes all the cards in the trick, you can take one of those cards and put it in your score pile. So not only do you get a point, but you can nab the trump card that was maybe used to win the trick, or the highest number of a color. There's ones that can make someone change the turn order, so you get to go first in the next trick, even though you might not have won it. There's ones that make people swap cards, etc., etc. And so the game just gets more wild as you go on. And I think the thing that I love about fishing is that it feels like a game where you've really got to pace yourself and think, this is a marathon, not a race, a sprint. But you could go a few rounds just winning trick after trick after trick, racking up those points. And all of a sudden, your deck is not very good, and you have to go through your deck, and it takes a few rounds to get through it, and you'll just start getting obliterated. And it feels like a game where you've really got to pick your moments of when to go for winning a bunch of tricks, which is really, really fun. I think one of the other fun things I've encountered in playing it a couple of times now is that you can have these wacky moments where one person can end up just winning like almost all of the colors of one particular suit. And if they, particularly early in the game when there's not as many trumps in the game, if they start to just keep leading with yellow, for example, and no one else has yellow to follow, they can win tricks with super low numbers, but the color just keeps cycling back to them. And so you get these really interesting moments where you're like, no one can win because they're just playing the same color, because they've got all of that color suit. And yeah, I thoroughly have enjoyed fishing. It's a fantastic trick taker. Unfortunately, a little hard to find. Not many copies make its way into the country, but if you manage to find a copy, this is absolutely one I think worth owning. Just the mechanic of the cards you win become your deck that you've got to play through for the following rounds is so clever and so interesting. And it just feels, even though when you're not winning tricks, it feels so great to offload those low numbers to person. Like, oh, you won the trick? Oh, congratulations. You can have all these 1s and 2s. That's going to come back to bite you at some point. So yeah, fishing is an amazing trick taker. I thoroughly have enjoyed playing it.
It's sensational. I did talk about it in episode 340. I didn't sizzle it at the time because I felt I hadn't played it enough. Definitely warrants a sizzle.
Mm-hmm.
Freeman Freeze has some really interesting designs, but I like that the kind of tipping point. When do I need to start winning tricks?
Yes.
If everyone is so fixated on building a deck, you might jump in and say, well, let me win all these rubbish cards, and it doesn't matter if I don't win later on because they're all going to be vying for it and I've already eclipsed them. And that pacing totally changes depending on how people play the game. It's not as if there's this meta of how to do it. If you're going gung-ho at the beginning, people go, well, shoot, actually, no, I do need to win this. And yeah, really, really lovely tension. Brilliant game. At the time of recording, Advent does have stock.
Oh, get on it, people.
Yeah.
Get
a few
on it.
people have stock. I double checked as well. Yeah.
If you're on the fence, I would say absolutely go buy it because I know Dean from Advent Games was trying to stock this for a while. He waited, I think, over a year to get that stock that he currently has. So go buy it.
There were a lot of hooky copies floating around because of the inability to get them in different countries.
Yeah,
I saw a few YouTube channels make videos of comparisons and all that stuff because that was when, like things were quite hard to get still.
Yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah. Anyway, fishing. Fantastic game. All right, 80, you've got a big one.
I have. This is a game that I played a long time ago. So this is The City of the Big Shoulders was one of the very first stock games I ever played. And it was like one of those games which is like a grail game for a lot of people. And they never reprinted it. And they're like, no one ever sold their copy. Have you ever seen a secondhand copy of that game on the market?
Once. That was many years ago.
It caters such a specific audience. Someone who's buying this, they're not buying it on a whim. They know they want it.
Yes.
Yeah, true. Very true. Well, I bought it knowing I wanted it. I backed the Kickstarter for Chicago 1875, then the subtext City of the Big Shoulders. It's basically a revamp of the original game. There's a few little things in that are a little bit different. The board's a little bit different on some of its layout because it just makes more sense. They've just sort of worked on that a little bit. There's a few other little extra mechanics and variants and things in there which are pretty interesting, which I have played a couple of those now already, which is great. But essentially, man, it's kind of a funny one because it is a stock game. However, at its core, it is a worker placement game. And essentially, you will do a stock phase, like in an 18xx game, where you buy stocks in certain companies. Maybe you own those companies. Maybe other players own those companies. And you buy and sell stocks to manipulate the stock market a little bit and have shares in other people's companies so that when they make money, you make money. And that's always good. And then it's also interesting because if the players are doing quite well, you can be like, oh man, I definitely want to buy more stocks than them because they're doing really well. So let's do that. So yeah, it's got a really interesting theme in the fact that there was a great fire in Chicago and essentially they rebuilt the city from the ground up. And it's got a lot of thematic ties to real companies. All of the companies listed are real companies. Some of them still exist today, like Spalding is one of them, and Schwinn, I think, is one of them, like a bike company. And there's a bunch of companies in there. Yeah, so essentially, what you'll do as a player is manage a bunch of different companies, and you will start these companies up with your starting funds, and then go from there and basically build on that. And it's kind of funny because at the start of the game, you all get essentially giving a 3 building tiles, and those building tiles are the worker placement spots. You'll be sending your partners out, which are essentially your workers, to the board to do certain actions which will help your companies make money. Because if your companies make money, like I said, you make money, which is great. And essentially you place these buildings out, and these buildings are associated with you and you as a player. So how that works is on the board itself, there's all the player icons for the different colors. And when I place my building out, it's in that row. So if another player takes that action, because they really want that action for that building that I placed, I get paid, which is lovely. So it can add a lot of variance to the game because each time you play the game, you're going to get different buildings and different players will have different buildings, and those different worker placement spots will come out in different orders. They are seeded, so essentially you start with level 1 buildings, then you go on to level 2 and 3, so they do get more powerful as the game goes on. However, in a 4-player game, you're using everything. 2-player game, you're using less. So you place out those buildings, take those actions. They could be a variety of different things. It could be employing a manager to run your company better. It could be employing a salesperson so that they can sell your goods at a higher price. It could be something simple like automating a worker. So essentially moving a worker to a different factory and automating that process because his job is no longer required. Mm-hmm. If you automate all of your factories, then they go back on the bread line and they go back to the worker spots, and then it makes workers cheaper because the workforce is flooded, and then therefore they'll work for cheaper.
Yep.
So, yeah, the one thing that I don't enjoy about this game as much is the way that the resources are seeded. They are essentially drawn from a bag, placed out, and you sort of have to buy them from where they are for how cheap they are. However, there is a advanced supply chain overlay tile that goes over, and it's almost like pipeline. You know how when you and Brass Birmingham, when you buy the cubes, they get more expensive.
Yeah.
When they replenish, they become cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I really suggest using that rather than the original. It's way more interesting. You've got way more sort of agency over it. You can see it, how it works, rather than it being randomized. I've played it with it 3 times now, and every time it's been great. So then once you've placed your workers out and sent them out to the buildings and done these various actions, you can then operate your company. And that's kind of the crux of the game. Essentially, you will produce goods in these sort of 4 different industries. And they're basically sort of livestock, steel, wood, and coal. Once you sort of produce these goods, you then sell them immediately. And the way that the turn order works for that is really interesting because the company with the highest appeal, so the company with the most appeal or the highest reputation will act first. It's not the turn order of the meeples.
Interesting. Okay.
So therefore, if you know that, hang on, there's only 4 livestock cubes left and I'm running a bacon factory, I need those cubes. So I need the appeal to be high because another player will buy those and undercut me, and then I won't be able to afford to buy the cubes that are left. So yeah, it's really good, especially the way that the advanced supply chain overlay works with, knowing turn order and which companies will act first and second. You can look around the table and go, okay, well, Lauren doesn't need any of those. She only does steel, so I can wait and go behind her. It doesn't matter. So I don't need that high of an appeal. So I don't have to worry about taking actions that will boost my appeal because I'm sitting pretty good where I am. Then you will produce goods with the companies. They make the goods. Essentially, goods are just these white tokens. They're like a white column. Goods are just all goods that become the same. The color doesn't matter. You basically use the different colored cubes to create goods, and then the goods go to the market. They basically get sold. Depending on how many goods you sell in a round is how much your value is worth, and then basically you pay out dividends to the shareholders and the shares go up, or you withhold, the money stays in the company and your share price goes down. If you manage to sell triple the value of your current company's worth, you advanced 3 steps rather than just going up 1 step in the stocks. There's an interesting thing that I have exploited a couple of times. Hay can attest to this, even though he won the game that I played with him. There's a little marker when you set the share price at the very start. When you make a company, there's a thing called a par value, and essentially you can set the company's value at $60 a share, $50 a share, $40 a share, or $35 a share. Now, every company will have 10 shares. And basically, there's a little line between the 50 and the 60 that doesn't allow you to do a double jump or a triple jump by making enough goods to be triple the value of the worth of the company. So what you can do is buy 1 share in someone's company, As soon as they pass that line, just the once, you can then sell that share that pushes them behind that line again. So if they make a load of more goods on the next turn, they can't.
No.
Yeah, I did that a couple of times in a couple of games. It's been really, really good because it's always been to my benefit. Like they have 40% of that company, whereas I have 10%. So I'll sell it for $60. It goes down to 50. Then they have to fluff around getting it past that one step. It was, yeah, it's really interesting. And essentially, that's all you do, man. And most money wins the game. Like you're just buying and selling stocks, taking actions. There's some public goal tiles as well, which I don't remember in the original. They may have been in the original. Maybe we didn't use them when I first ever played it. It's definitely not as complex and as intricate as an 18xx is. It's a very good entry level to a quote unquote kind of heavy stocks game in a way. It has some good manipulation mechanics as long as other players are all on the same page and sort of following those. I mean, I got screwed in the game with Matt and Haig the other day. They just dumped all my shares. So I went down and down and down in value. But then I actually managed to be able to afford to buy some of those back because they were so cheap.
Yep.
And I managed to turn the company that was worth like, I think the total of like $300 back to being worth like $960 in the last round. So that was a good $660 sort of swing. And because they didn't have any shares in those companies, they did not gain. Only I gained.
Yeah.
The blue company that I had that they owned like 20% in each, I couldn't care how much that made. They can make a little bit, that's fine. But they were still gaining from that. So I didn't want to, do too well with it. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the game. Like it's really interesting. I do love the placing out of the buildings because you kind of got to weigh up. Do I want to place out this really good worker placement action spot for another player? And then they take it and I get instantly $60 cash to me, not to the company, to my own personal stash, which I can keep or I can use to buy more shares or whatever I want. Or do I just put a crappy one out because I don't want them using this particular action because this action is so powerful? I'd be worried that they may run away with the game or it might give them too much of a higher benefit. So yeah, it's got good decisions. I'm really glad that I backed it. However, talking about variants and stuff, I really, really, really want to play this with the advanced rule set, which I've never done. And I would love to see happen because in the game, essentially, when you start a company, nobody can take that company from you. So in an 18xx game, when a player owns majority share of a company, that company is then run by another player. Whereas in this, that doesn't happen.
Right, okay.
In the advanced rules, it does happen. You can essentially do a hostile takeover and own more of the company than them. Then you pass them the company board, then they choose how that company acts.
But it's not just that. The inability to get rid of your director share really means that you never want to tank a company, which just means everyone wants all their companies to succeed to varying levels, which is just ultimately, I feel, a little less interesting.
Agreed. 100% agree.
And I feel as if it's probably enough. I think it's a shame that was packaged in with other things in this advanced variant because it feels as if just that you could add into the game and it's kind of makes it a lot more interesting. But if you're playing it for the first time, my understanding, right, Adi, is that there's other things in this advanced variant that do make it a lot more for a first play as opposed to just that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just the hostile takeover stuff. Well, that is majority of the rule set. However, just being a player and being aware of how that happens can be a lot. Like I haven't played a million different 18x's, but I've played enough to know my way around these kinds of games enough. I can see if someone's trying to screw me and buy more of my company than I have so that they can run it and basically gain from it or tank that company into the ground. So, for a new player or a player that's not played any stock games, to find out that essentially you might not be doing anything this round and just watching because someone's taken the company from you, and even though you still own 20% of that company, they own 40%, so they're running it. I think that would just be a crap game for that person. Like, it wouldn't be interesting. It would be the equivalent of playing TI4 and getting knocked out in the second round and it goes for another 3 hours, like, and you're just sitting there. It's not very fun or interesting. So I think that if I ever played this game with anybody, I'd always play the basic version first. And then after a couple of games, play the advanced rules, because the advanced rules are definitely the thing that interests me as a player more. But I can see why it would be a frustrating affair for someone who hasn't played a stocks game before to be in a 5-hour long game where they're almost out within 2 hours, you know?
Mm.
But yeah, fantastic game. Fantastic production as well. Like, I think it's great. I mean, paper money or card money, yeah, okay, not fantastic. But, I mean, most people that play these games have iron clays or poker chips or something that's the equivalent. The paper money still works. It's fine. But, I mean, if they added iron clays or poker chips, you'd probably add $100 to the price tag of this game and no one would buy it. So I can see why they did it.
There you go.
So yeah, absolutely great game. Love it. And I'm very much looking forward to playing it a few more times. And then I'm actually going to teach it to Finn next week.
Oh, wow.
2-player. Yeah, because the 2-player isn't that confrontational when it comes to stocks and stuff. However, it is a good way to see how stocks work and how that kind of stuff works. So
yeah, cool. That's Chicago 1875, City of the Big Shoulders. All right, final sizzle. I hear this is going to be an explosive one, Lauren, so I'll let you go.
Outstanding. This game was in my top 10 for a reason. This game is sensational. That game is Bombbusters. And it's not been talked about outside the top 10 yet, so
here we go.
Game of the year. Let's give it a cheeky little sizzle. Have you both played it?
I haven't.
No.
I know the premise, but I haven't played it yet.
So you're a bomb squad. You're going to be busting those bombs. It's a deduction game where each person has a hand of these kind of little wires, and you're wanting to connect wires of the same color, like numbers, so a 7 matching a 7, to defuse this bomb. On your turn, it's pretty simple. You're going to do one of two things. I'm going to point at a little tiny card in Jules's hand, which is this little kind of rack that you lay all your tiles in ascending order. I'm going to say, Jules, I reckon that's a 7. And if it's a 7, he plops out his 7, I put out mine. We've connected those wires, diffused it. Brilliant. The other thing I can do is if I've got 2 7s in my hand and the other 7s are already out, because there's 4 of each number going up 1 to 12, then I can put those 2 7s down from my own hand and do what they call a solo cut. But obviously, if only it were that simple, because you can't see what's in your opponent's hands. So you might say, Lauren, how are you meant to know? How are you meant to know that card over there in Jules's hand is a 7? Sweet, sweet deduction. You're going to be seeding information to your partners. At the beginning of the game, you're only going to know one number, so everyone gets to put a little arrow on one of their things, and it says that there's a 4, for example. That means I know everything below it is equal to a lower, everything above it is equal to a higher, because again, your hands are arranged in ascending order. But that's not it, because there are other funky wires that get in the way. There's a red wire, and if I ever touch Jules's tray and say, is that a 7, and it's a red, boom, we explode, we all lose.
Oh, that's not good.
It ain't good. If I say, is that a 7, and it's not, we get a handful of tries equal to the number of players. And if we get those wrong that number of times, boom, we explode, we lose. So each time you get it wrong, someone's going to put a little arrow and tell you what it is. So you're going to get information based on the successful connections, but also the things you get wrong. It's going to be seeding information. But also importantly, as with all deduction games, there's other kind of meta information that sits above the game that's going to be seeded. So if I ask about a certain thing, it might imply something. And that implication might say, well, she doesn't have a 12 because if she had a 12, she obviously would have asked that. She didn't, therefore she doesn't, right? All of this other, delicious deduction juice that seeps down into your little brains, and you use it to solve this puzzle, a really, really fun puzzle. It's a bit reminiscent of things like Hanabi, things like The Crew. You go through successive missions, and then in the box, there's a little treat box for you to open, and there's kind of additional things that you can add, little wrinkles. One of the things that makes the game awesome is these single-time powers that you get to use. So there's these powers on the board, and they're going to change every game. But they let you do things like, one time use it, and that's for the whole table. So I might make the decision that I'm going to use it. And then I get to ask something with no consequence. We get to use our double detector cards again. The double detector is what each person has, where I could use it once per game, where I can point to 2 of the little things on Jules's tray and says, is either of these a 7? And if one of them is, we're good. So there's all these other little wrinkles added in. There's just enough spice to make it, I think, an outstanding deduction game. Outstanding. It's really simple. I've basically explained all the rules.
Cool.
Really. That's it. You're kind of either picking someone else's card, snipping 2 of your own. If you get all of the numbers down, that's how you win. If you get wrong guesses a certain number of times or you hit that red wire, you lose. There are other missions which I won't spoil for people who haven't got to them, but later on that might add extra conditions. They might add extra red wires or yellow wires, but the value of them is unknown. So for example, in this game, there's a red wire, but it could be a 7.5 or an 8.5 or 10.5. We don't know.
Right, okay.
So, and the board shows a nice little place to add that. So the yellow and red wires are always kind of these decimal places in between. And so that, they'll sit between numbers, but sometimes you're not absolutely certain what value there is. So in addition to trying to work out what numbers everyone has, you're also trying to work out what the value of the red could be.
Cool.
James and I, it's outstanding. James and I have played this a lot at 2-player. At 2-player and 3-player, there's, just to make sure there's enough racks for all of the numbers, because numbers 1 through 12, each having 4 numbers, right? So there's 48 of these blue wires. In a 2-player game, each person plays with 2 racks, and you ascend them independently, but then you play them as if they're one hand.
Right.
And in the 3-player game, there's one person who's kind of quote-unquote the captain who plays with 2 trays. James and I tried to up the ante a little, which in the 2-player game, you ascend the racks independently, and then you play with them as one hand, but we were still playing them as 2 independent hands. Meaning I couldn't solo cut. If I had a 7 in one hand and a 7 in another, I couldn't solo cut, which meant that we would have to, so we made it harder for ourselves just as kind of this interesting challenge. Definitely not how it's meant to be played. I really, liked that extra layer. It was a really interesting house rule. I wouldn't recommend it, but it was just very interesting to see how far we could push the limits of that deduction. But yeah, I think it's outstanding. It scales, I think, really well. Some people don't like it at 2 because they feel it's too easy. You have too much information, but you only get 2 mistakes.
Yeah, it's not
so
not
the
a lot.
difficulty does scale. It's really not a lot. I just adore this game. I think the theme is inviting. I think the art is excellent. Hisashi Hayashi, I think, is a brilliant designer. He's done Yokohama, Metro X, Railway Boom, which just got a loving reskin with Ian O'Toole art. Trick of the Rails is really great design pedigree, and I think that this one just absolutely knocked it out of the park. You have to like deduction games. If you don't like deduction, you're not going to like this. That's just the reality, right? It has all the same trappings of a deduction game. One thing that I could maybe knock it slightly for is I think it does fall into the same pit that Hanabi does, which after the game has existed for enough time, there's this overarching meta that exists above the game where you're expected to play in a certain way based on what you have in your hand.
Right, yeah.
If you have 2 of the same number, you should always play the higher one so that you're seeding this extra information based on that meta.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in people who want to play like that. The game is kind of intentionally a little bit goofy in its theme and presentation, and I think it kind of deserves that approach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's how you want to play it with people, but I think that if you play with people who are strangers who know the game really well, there might be some clash in terms of some people saying, oh, well, you didn't play the high one, so I thought that was going to be a this.
Yeah.
Stuff those people. It's brilliant, approachable deduction game that has missions that scale in difficulty, so it can introduce more rules. So you can start with the earlier missions, crack on with the later ones. 10 out of 10, can't recommend enough. My sizzle, bomb busters.
Very cool. Yeah, it's one I just haven't got to playing it yet. I think we've got a copy in the library maybe, so I'll have to see if I can get that out at some point. Very cool. All right. Well, with that, we'll move on to some news and announcements. All right. The first most important news, PlayCon is this year, people, and there are tickets available right now. So if you don't have a ticket yet, you can go to play-con.com. Go get single-day passes, 3-day passes, all that stuff's available. As well as we've got merch again this year that was designed and illustrated by Andrew Bosley, which is incredible. We're very grateful that he did that for us, and all the proceeds will go to charity for all the shirts sold prior to the event. Andrew will be there. Maybe you can pick up the tee and sign it if you really want him to. That will be really, really cool. But leading up to PlayCon, we also have the Brisbane Game Day at Royal on the Park on the 28th of February, and the tickets on our Eventbrite now for that event, as well as the next Sydney Game Day, which is at the Castle Hill RSL on the 14th of March. And again, tickets are on sale now if you want to get involved in those game days. You know that game you've been wanting for a long, long time? The one that's been on your wish list for ages? Yeah, that one. The one you've been adding to your cart and taking off again, umming and ahhing about whether you should get it or not? Well, I'm here to push you over the edge and say go to adventgames.com and add that to your cart right now. I bet you that Dean has a great price on it. He's got great customer service, flat rate shipping, and there's so many other goodies to explore on the website. Wonderful categories all organised to pick the exact game that's right for you and the group that you play with. So head over now, don't hesitate, to adventgames.com.au and add that game to your cart now. All right, well, let's go to our question of the pod. And last episode's question was, what games would you like to see at PlayCon and why? We had some serious answers and some, let's just say, answers. And Lauren, do you want to read off the ones that came on Facebook?
That first one's definitely a serious answer. He's been asking for that for years.
He has.
Well, this sounds like an offer to host it. That's what
that
I
is the idea. That is the plan.
Absolutely. So Mitch Keddy has suggested, does a kissing booth count as a game? And there's only winners in a kissing booth with Mitch Keddy. So I would say, yes, that's a game. We had Danny Trong, who said 12 Rivers, giant version.
That would be sick.
Him, make it happen. That sounds amazing.
All we need to do is hire, you know, those giant slides that come on the back of trucks that they just pump up, and we throw beach balls down them.
I was going to say bowling balls, but yeah, that's fine. Catch.
Outstanding. No notes. Andrew Farmer says, more Captain Sonar. Shout out to the awesome chap that has hosted the sessions the past couple of years.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thomas James says, I'm really excited to see some of the unpublished prototypes. Always a highlight to see and play something you literally can't play elsewhere.
Yeah, so true.
Agreed. Designer Alley, it's always amazing. Stuart Clark says, Ada's Dream looks really good. I've not heard of that one.
Ada's Dream was a Kickstarter. Oh, well, actually, maybe not. Ada's Dream, I can't remember who published it, but it was one that I know Think-A-Thema have talked about a while back, and I think it's only just become available. I could be wrong. I might be mixing
I know this one. It's by Alley Cat Games. Yeah, I know the one.
But yeah.
Craig Westbury says, I enjoyed playing longer games that I do not have the resources or time to play except on a great weekend like PlayCon. Last year, thanks to the awesome board game barbecue community, I got to play Lords of Waterdeep with expansions and Ark Nova with expansions set up through the Aftergame app.
Great stuff.
Aftergame doing the hard yards. Look at it go.
That's it.
Yeah. Rob said, recall Tir Na Nog, Galileo Galilei, and Bombusters, hell yeah, would be great additions to the library and, in my opinion, the best of the last year. Ants and Railway Boom would also be available at retail by July. I would love to play Jumbo Harmonies again. That Giant Harmonies is dope. And yeah, I'm high on Railway Boom. I'm so excited for the reprint because it was a really expensive game to acquire from Japan for a very long time for a game that was kind of ugly. So, and Laura Carr says, I'm keen to get into some Lacerda and other longer games. Would also love to play some of Steffenfeld's City series, especially Marrakesh. Well, we got him.
We've got you sorted for the Felds.
Lots of people wanting to get stuck into really long, heavy games. At least in our community, yeah.
We have been on a buying spree for the library like on this coming year, or this year. And lots of new things to try out. We won't spoil, but there is definitely some Felds in there.
I feel that it's because not everybody gets the opportunity to play those bigger, heavier games in groups. For, life gets in the way, or maybe, you maybe live remotely and you don't have access to a big board game community and things like that. So, I've gone into it. Someone was playing an 18xx and it was Tina's group. And then there was someone playing Hegemony and someone else playing Hegemony all at the same time on the Friday, like at the start. So it's definitely people keen to play those heavy games. And I think one of those Hegemony games was through Aftergame as well. So it's pretty impressive.
Super cool.
We had Lee Parrott say, I'd like to make a small request. At least one copy of every sizzling game from 2025. It's kind of rude for you to talk about all these games without at least bringing them along to play. Def said Arcs 12 times.
Well,
4 copies of that in the library. I know that because they all lived at my house at one time, and I had a Kallax cube that was just multiple copies of Arc.
Yeah, I remember we got them early as well, and we had them everywhere. So it's pretty cool. And Manny said, I'd love to see an epic miniatures game or 2 sprawled out. One of the highlights of CanCon for me, but naturally it's a bit of a challenging thing to orchestrate.
It is quite a sight to behold and very fun to see a fully thematic table with painted armies on there and rolling lots of dice. It's good fun. All right. Well, with that, we're going to move on to our new question of the pod. Lauren came up with this banger, and we've sort of done it before in Patreon podcasts, but I think this is a great way to start each new year.
This is a great way to start each new year. And I need to also, before we start this, reach out to Draven to say any of our predictions that amongst the 3 of us, please add them to the master sheet, because I had last year's or some other predictions written down on one of our sheets and it's gone. Come on. It was going to happen if I was in charge of doing that thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I already have a prediction. I have a hot take prediction.
We need to make the question clear. The question is, what are your 2026 board game predictions? So that could be a game that's re-released, someone goes out of business, whatever, anything in the board game industry related. Go for it, 80. Hot take.
Hot take. You don't have to say someone. You could have just said Simon. It's pretty much the same word. But anyway, Hell the Last Saga, right? This has gone on forever.
Oh my God.
But I reckon we'll get an update in October to say something might be happening.
Let's make this a bit more interesting. Lauren, do you think that Adrian's prediction of an update about Hell the Last Saga, you reckon he's going to be over or under on that date?
What are the odds on that? My word.
I'm just asking for an update. Has to have a picture and a bit of a blurb. That's all I'm asking.
If I could put $1 on that over and I would reap it back if they update it. There's no chance. You're trying to manifest that, and I respect it, but I don't believe it.
Look, it's owned by a company called Don't Panic Games now. It's going to be fine. Don't panic.
Don't panic. It's going to be sweet.
Happen.
Oh, man.
Jules' face.
It's a cursed object at this point. It's sunk.
That's why I love talking about it. I love talking about it. It's so funny. Oh, God.
It's got to be the wildest history of any Kickstarter that exists. Like, it's just insane what has happened to this IP. It still seems really cool. I would love to get a copy that I backed. I went all in. I bought the Viking chess set. I was so excited for it. Oh, man.
My other hot prediction is all of that money is gone. We're not getting we have to back again. It's a new backing.
Yeah, because I know the promise was made by Simon that old backers would get the base game for free again.
Correct.
But I don't see I just don't see how another company can promise that. There were tens of thousands of backers. It's
100%. So much money.
It's millions. It was like a $12 million Kickstarter. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
Start. I'll give you another hot take in a minute, but I'll let you start with that. So.
Oh man, prediction for me. I think I could be wrong, but I feel like certainly last year and maybe the year before, we never had any games that were released the current year and then crack into the top 20 the same year. It's been a while. I think the last game to do that was Ark Nova. And I feel like we're due for a new like skyrocketer that will maybe crack into the top, I'll say 25. Top 25, yeah. Because Ark Nova went stratospheric when it released. It went so high.
It went high, but then it went on BGA. That's when it went stratospheric.
Yes.
It really did get massive after that. And we do have SETI. SETI is number 18 in the top 20 at the moment. And also Slay the Spire.
SETI's a 2024 game, though.
I know, but Jules is just saying recent games, like the most recent games to crack the top 20.
But I'm saying it's released in 2026 and it achieves being top 25 in the same year.
Yeah, wow. I don't know. I think that Brass Pittsburgh will be backed and be a massive campaign, but I don't think we'll see it until 27.
Yeah, you're probably right on that.
Well, a 2026 game, I was going to say cracks into the top 100, but you're being
I'm being more ambitious.
And saying 25. Yeah,
I feel like it's been a while since we've had something of the impact of Ark Nova into the BGG top, top 50 or whatever it was. So it cracked in.
Do you think that it having a BGA implementation early will help assist that?
Quite possibly. The data around BGA is so fuzzy. I don't know how it helps or hinders games, honestly. I know there's plenty of people that say, I played it on BGA, I loved it, so I went and bought it. And I know plenty of people that go, I'm happy to just play it on BGA and never buy it. It's so hard to know what that site does for the hobby. I hope it's all
marketing,
good.
Though, right?
Yeah.
It's marketing.
Yeah,
for
it's
their
marketing.
Game.
Yeah.
And they ultimately make the decision whether to put it on BGA.
Yes, that is correct. The publishers actually earn money for plays.
Yeah, wow. That's cool.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember what the amount is, but
it would be tiny.
Yeah, it'd be very small. But I know if it's a free game, it's nothing. But if you put it up as a locked behind premium, BGA actually shares some of the profits.
Yeah, cool.
With.
Hey, look, I got a premium BGA membership. Best $50-$60 I spend a year. It's crazy how cheap it is.
There you go.
I got two predictions that are IP related.
Mm.
I think there's going to be a new Lord of the Rings game announced this year that we've not heard anything about, like a new big Lord of the Rings game. We had, Fate of the Fellowship. We had Lord of the Rings Trick Taker. They're just going to ride that wave. I reckon we're getting another. And the other prediction that I'm going to make, and this is more me trying to manifest it, I think that there will be a game with a Zelda theme announced this year. I'm calling it.
I would love that.
I want it, so I'm calling it.
Well, the TV show's currently being filmed, so it would coincide with that gearing up for a big release. So maybe.
Yeah, it's funny that IP hasn't been touched in board games yet. There's so many puzzles and things that,
Hard agree.
Has Mario, though? Like, are there any of the Nintendo games, if you think about it?
There's definitely a Mario board game.
But I'm not talking about Mario Monopoly. Like, is there a Mario game?
I think Nintendo are like Pokemon. They're very protective of their IP.
Correct.
So it feels unlikely unless it's sanctioned by them. But I think it could happen. I believe.
I mean, there's a Pokemon Splendor.
But that's only in Korea. Korea only, right?
I know it is Korean only.
Because it's not legal and they're like, screw it. We don't have any trademark laws, so we'll do what the hell we want.
No, it would have been, they only got the license to do it in that region.
What's your spicy one, Adi? I've got a few more, but I want to hear your spicy one.
I don't have any. My first one was really my spicy one. Like, I think that potentially we will see a continued trend of small box games. I think there'll be more things like the White Castle, like what the De Vere sort of model has. I know that Garfield games went and to big boxes, but now seem to have back to small boxes. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they did. I can't look at the thing behind me, but one of those boxes is a big box. whereas they're all small boxes again. Like, I don't know why that is. Maybe it's more financially viable. I heard things that from other places and other publishers that said having the bigger boxes, they stack in the shipper container better or whatever, or there's a standard size that they use and therefore it is cheaper to do a bigger box. And also the shelf presence is equally important for publishers to have this shelf presence. But hey, man, like, I don't know. I play the games because I like the games. I don't care what they look like on the shelf. Like, it doesn't fuss me at all. I mean, they've got the Great Sea coming out, and that looks like that's in a small box. Assyria was in a small box. But I know that there was a big box at some point. But I think that we'll see a continued trend of trying to condense and consolidate and make these boxes more economical, basically.
Okay.
What do you reckon, Jules? Got any others?
Oh, man. I think that I'm trying to think back to the predictions I made about 2025 and what came true. I think we'll probably see some quite notable publishers get acquired. So I'd say that's, I don't know how to define the terms around that, but I'd say a publisher that's had, an evergreen success, something like, a Wingspan, maybe not as high as Wingspan. That's pretty insane.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, that's pretty high. But I think there'll be some big acquisitions this year. There certainly were last year. For example, acquisitions from Simon Titles is a little bit different. That company wasn't acquired. That's titles being acquired. But Tycoon Games, who do Everdell, did acquire the Tiny Epic company. They took all of their games and everything they've done. Yeah, I think there'll be some more acquisitions this year. And especially with, I think Asmodee has been through a period of time where obviously they got separated out from their parent company, and I think starting to turn the corner again into doing a lot of acquisitions. We saw that many years ago, and then they sort of slowed down and stopped. But I think there'll be some interesting moves within publishers this year. And we've already seen one. It's not the acquisition, I should say, but an interesting move in that Cole Worley is now leaving Leader Games and starting his own publishing company. That I did not see coming, but
no.
Hey, that's really interesting. I don't know what will come of it, but very, very interesting way to start 2026.
I think we'll see less Kickstarters as well. I think that's already happening. I think we are. I mean, I don't know if it's because when I was in the hobby at the start, Kickstarter was so big that I was just backing and backing and backing, and that's just waned for me, or if that's actually a trend in the market. Because whenever I go on Kickstarter, there's never anything that really interests me. Like, if I'm honest, like, I think that the published games are so good at the moment that I just buy those. Like,
yeah, I agree with you. I think there's still going to be quite a lot because there's a certain amount of safety involved with Kickstarter, but I think some people have clued on to that unless your project is well advanced before you go to Kickstarter, you risk having that long development time and costs all change and you risk losing money or making none. I think and it is unfortunate because some people just don't have the capital to publish and print 3, 4, even 5,000 copies of a game for a first print run. You need a lot of money to do that, but it's at least a number you can lock in quick when you're just publishing it yourself rather than 9, 10, even 12 months down the line when you finally designed it and ready to hit print. It's a really tricky thing. But yeah, actually, on that note, I don't really have any predictions, but where do you think the war between Kickstarter and GameFound will land at the end of 2026?
I think that Kickstarter is still going to pip GameFound. That's the reality.
Okay.
I think on the whole, yes.
The site gets way more traffic.
Yeah.
And gamers will kind of check both, but you're going to get a lot more incidental traffic on Kickstarter still. I just think that's the reality. I think there might be kind of a tipping point at some point, but I don't think that's this year.
Yep. Fair enough.
One final prediction, which is I think that a Asian-born designer is going to win the Spiel again this year.
Ooh, I like that one.
I think that games from Asia are just coming in fast and hot, and I'm a big fan of it.
Agreed. Yep. 12 Rivers was out of the Asian market. There is another game, I won't say, that Good Games Publishing that is from the Asian market, I think will be quite cool. So yeah, no, I agree with that. That's very, very cool. Well, we would love to hear from you, the community. What are your 2026 board game predictions? All right, before we move on to the last section of Fired Up, just a shout out to our Patreons. Thank you for your support. We cannot do the show without you. And if you'd like to support us, become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/boardgamebarbecue and sign up to donate and get access to exclusive episodes that we record. There's so many fun ones. I need to go back and actually listen to what the predictions were I made for 2025. So I'm going to go do that at some point because I think we nailed a few of them, which would be really cool. Some of the best ways that you can actually support as well is just to share the word. Tell your friends about the podcast. Tell them about Discord and the Facebook group. And go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a rating. All of that really, really helps spread the word of the show if you enjoy it. You can also get involved in the Discord community, sign up on our Facebook community, follow us on X, Instagram, and YouTube as well. So all the links to those places to get involved are in the show notes. All right, it's time for Fired Up. First one of the year. Lauren, what have you got for us?
Mate, the aircon in my bedroom is broken and it gets fixed tomorrow. And
you are quite literally on fire.
I've been a sweaty Betty over in Roma. I'm just really jazzed for that to be fixed.
Oh, man. That's
it. Nice and simple. It's the simple pleasures in life. And the sweet relief of aircon in southwestern Queensland is highly coveted.
Yes, I can only imagine. That is, wow. Yep, no. I would just be living in the bath if that was me.
I have to say, it is pretty muggy here at the moment in Brisbane. Like, it's probably even worse out there. Poor Lauren.
Adrian, what are you fired up about?
Man, I don't know. I've had like such a great time, like already. Like
it's all downhill from here.
All downhill now. It's just like I don't know.
I'll have to bleep that.
I think that I actually tell you one thing. Finn has really got into fishing in a big way and is really enjoying fishing. And
not the game, but the actual fishing.
The actual fishing. He probably would love that game as well because he loves trick takers, so he'd probably enjoy that. But he's really enjoyed fishing, and bless him, he used his pocket money and some other money that he'd got from collecting cans and doing weeding and stuff to buy himself a fishing rod because he had one previously. It was crap. And he bought a fishing rod, and one of his step siblings crushed it in the boot of the car when they closed the boot. Like the end was sticking out and snapped it. So he was devastated. However, I was working the other day. This is so me, right? You'll love this, Jules. I was working around the back of a shopping mall, like a Westfield, and they had a BCF there. The guy comes walking out from BCF with a fishing rod. I was like, hey, man, what's going on? Have you caught anything? Like as a laugh?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, not yet. He's like, the end is busted on it, like the very end, the tip.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it happens all the time, but we're not allowed to fix them for warranty issues. We just throw them in the bin.
Oh.
He's like, do you want it? I was like, yeah, all right. And then he just gave me this like $300 fishing rod. He said, yeah, I'll put one of those tips on the desk for you. I was like, okay, cool. So I walked in, bought a $5 tip. Just you hot glue them on because I looked it on YouTube how you do it. Hot glued it on, ready to go. So Finn's like all going to be super stoked with his new fishing rod. So it's pretty cool.
You are so right. That is the most Adrian story.
No, it's so weird. But that's because I talk to people, so that's why these weird things happen to me. That's why weird things happen to James Lauren, because he chats to people and then all of a sudden...
marry someone that chats. I just... The amount of stuff that people have dropped us off in Roma, when people heard that we didn't have an AC, you know how many different people have dropped us off like mobile fans and things?
Oh my gosh.
In our living room?
Nice.
Anyways, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
But Jules, what are you fired up for?
I am fired up for a new game that should be delivering soon because the last update was it's in the country, and that's Shadow Moon Syndicates. So that is a game I backed. I went the full deluxe version, of course.
I played that at WillyCon. It's really good.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yep. It seems right up my alley. Lots of mean fighty take that sort of.
Such a beautiful aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
and the world building in it. And those people like work at Weta.
Yes, Weta Workshop.
Like,
yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you can see that art style in those cards and stuff. Yeah, it's great. Really good.
So very excited for that to arrive. I don't know when, but it's in the country, so it's got to be in the coming weeks for sure. So very, very fired up for Shadow Moon Syndicates to arrive and get to the table. It'd be crazy if it showed up this week and I could take it to CanCon, but hey.
True.
I can't have everything
Fingers
we
crossed.
want. Fingers crossed. That's it. All right. Well, that will bring us to the end of the show. Thank you, Adrian, Lauren. Another amazing episode. Mate. Yeah. We hope you've all enjoyed the show, and until next time, play more games. Bye for now.
Bye, mate.
See ya.